All right, this video is going to be about how I participated, built, and bought the family business from my 10 brothers and sisters and my parents over 15 years. How I bought it, built it, and then after 18 years, I sold the business. So here's the story. Basically, the company's called Vomella Specialty. Our last name is Lamana. However, my dad and Mr. Vomella built the business from the 1948 on to when my father acquired it in 1980. And then I acquired the business after being there for 15 years in 1990. How did I do it? It wasn't easy. We brought in industrial psychologists, we brought in estate planners, we brought in priests, rabbis, therapists, you name it. It took 5 years from 1985 to 1990 before we closed. Where did I get the money to buy it? I didn't have any money. I was divorced, had no money basically, and enough to acquire a business, and my father wanted to cash out. No earn out, it was a cash out deal. So what I did basically is developed a relationship at Harvard while I was at Harvard with an attorney that gave me basically the opportunity to strategize how I could buy it and how I could remain employed while I can pay the debt service. And my father's attorney recommended an angel. What's an angel? Back at that time in the 80s and the early 90s, basically venture capitalists. Today you would call it a family office in this case. So what did I do? I was all in, man. I was divorced. I was living with a guy, a buddy of mine, in a rented room. I was working full time. I was going to Harvard Business School. I was raising 3 kids. I was paying child support. I was paying alimony, lifetime alimony, by the way, out of the state of Minnesota. And it was very, very difficult to basically say where was my future, because I had 15 years of my career in one place. But here's what I had. I had sales skills. I was a negotiator, sales guy, knowledgeable, and here's the other thing I had. People. People supported me. I had advocates, people that believed in me, people that knew what I did. I had the credibility. I had the opportunity to loan money. I was all in on everything I had. So what I'm saying is I'm not trying to develop a victim situation. What I'm saying is if I can do it, you can do it. But going back to family business, it's not easy. It's not easy, especially when you got 10 brothers and sisters that all participated in the business at one time or another. I had brother-in-laws there, additional family. We had 350 employees off and on, 150 employees. That was standard. We were CAD/CAM, we provided innovation and so on. So really what the trick was knowing Mr. Vomella, knowing my father, that their belief and their obsession, not with just finance, their obsession was be non-union, be sharing things with people. We had a pension. We had all the qualitative type aspects of leadership and the culture. Well, that all changed after the acquisition. In fact, the team that I brought in, Mike and Maggie and a few others, they're the ones that helped me get to where I was. I could have never built the business without my team that I hand selected. Okay? And so I felt very alone when I was basically excommunicated from the family because of the divorce, the opportunity that I was going for, And I had to bring in an outsider, the venture capitalist. So I'm pro family business, but I couldn't do it alone. I tried to get to the point where I could actually not only buy 40% of the business, I couldn't buy 60. I had a partner, an equity partner, that was not active in the business. I needed the money to be able to, but I ran the company, okay? I ran the company because I was the face of the company for many, many years. Actually, from 1980 on to 1990, and our major customer was 3M. And here's the other thing, I traveled a lot. Being single helped me a lot, in fact, to succeed on my goals and aspirations. So some of the things that I want to pass on to you as entrepreneurs and wannabe entrepreneurs, it's not that easy. There's always a hiccup. There's always an issue. And my father used to say about people, about making sure you pick the right horse. And when you pick the right horse, you want to, of course, pick a winner. Well, that could happen with clients. It could happen with partners. It could happen in a spouse selection. I mean, it's not easy. And being an entrepreneur, trying to build a business at a young age, I was better off single as a divorced person, because then I could make my own decisions. And that's the freedom and the independence to make your own decisions. But I was obsessed with success. And then I added the obligation of child support, alimony, partnership that I didn't have not control. And that's kind of what happened. After those 3 years, I realized, hold it, man, I'm not independent and I'm not free. Business is going great. And then I was approached by the venture capitalists and asked to buy my 40% out. After about a couple years, because it took about 1.5 years to sell. And we grew tremendously. And there's a reason why he wanted to buy the business. I understood. And I really didn't have the opportunity to buy the 60%, even though I asked. And by then, I had the backing of the bank. I had the backing of other investors. So I could actually achieve the acquisition of the 60%. That was a no-go. That's when the line was drawn in the ground that it wasn't going to happen. So what did I do? I realized I had to let it go. Just like a relationship, just like a marriage. Eventually, you're going to have to let it go. It's reality. Don't be in denial. You got to move on. And that's what I did. So I hired an attorney. I hired an industrial psychologist to help me get through the emotional warfare to get through this, because I was alone. My father was gone. My brothers and sisters weren't interested in helping me. I had no one else. So I was alone. And I was in the war zone. I hired Deloitte to do evaluation. And so I had a team, we call it a buy side. Had a buy side. I did my own negotiations. I didn't bring in a broker, which I became eventually. And it took some time. And with that attorney at Harvard, drafted a legal document that saved my ass. And it was a consulting agreement, it was an employment agreement, and it was a guarantee, just like an athlete. In fact, it was a Pittsburgh attorney that worked with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so it was pretty much the outline of an athlete. So I pretty much felt like an athlete. But I felt good that I had some security, because I had debt. And as I mentioned, I was living with a guy in a room, okay? And going to Harvard at the same time. So I cut the best deal I could, and eventually I sold. And I'll never forget, because the feelings always come back, and it's been 30 years. It was 1993 that I sold the business. And I recreated myself 7 more times after that. And now that I'm in my early 70s. So My YouTubes are basically trying to tell you youngsters and your younger generations that there's always that hope and that faith that things are going to happen. But one thing I learned about business from my father, Jack Vomella, and others, to be a leader, a humble leader. Because humble leaders always work from the heart. And the culture was from the heart. But if you get the quantitative competitiveness and keeping score, you're never going to win, man. There's always bigger, better, faster. And you know what? Even though I was competitive, I didn't need that. I wanted to basically have a life of peace and be able to meet my debt loads and so on. And that eventually happened. So at closing, I'll never forget my partner at that time that acquired the business, my other 40%. We walked out of the contract after the signing and the closing. We're on the 33rd floor of a bank building in St. Paul, and it was raining. And I was in a separate room while my attorney, who did a great job, closed the deal under my direction and my demands. And it was all basically pretty well closed. And I was under 40, so I was still pretty young, didn't know what I was going to do but I did have goals. And I knew I was being in demand for sales positions, calling on 3M, doing some international work in Germany and so on. So I had a non-compete, so I had to work within those parameters, which I agreed to. And I knew basically what I needed to do. But my partner, his name was Tom. Tom says to me, "Rock, well, now you could retire." That wasn't my thought at all. At all. Did I become a millionaire? Net worth? Yeah. And the good thing is, it was after the divorce. So that worked out, you know? So I always felt that faith is a big deal in my life. And there's always a purpose. And God's changed my direction and guidance for years. So that's kind of where I really believe in my God. I believe in faith. I try to pick the right horse. I've been betrayed many times like everyone else. And betrayal today especially is normal. Right now we're talking about all these people a little bit younger than me. Let's call it white collar recession. Listen, you had to keep changing your career, your life, and so on. Don't feel sorry for yourself. There is hope out there. And by the way, if I can do it, you can do it. But you gotta stay fit, man. It's the mindset. And this is where the qualitative aspects come in. From the heart, the culture, the people. You have to have compassion. You have to have empathy. You got to take care of the people. The people are the ones that make you. The quantitative people that I've worked for years have no clue. And that's why I would never work for them. Okay? I realize you don't want to work for a jerk. And you don't want to work for somebody that is trying to control you and could tell you what to do. No. The goal in life, in my life, is freedom, independence. And now it's peace. So now what I want to do is pass this on to you through my YouTube to the world. Because everybody's out there trying to make a fast buck. It's not going to happen. Jack and Carlo, it was perseverance, it was discipline, and it was doing the right thing. That was their secret. That was their secret. And I took that on because I lived it for 15 years next to these guys and seeing it. Yeah, it's tough to be a person of integrity. Very, very tough. All right? So just the fact that doing the right thing, it's cool. Okay? It's a cool thing. It's hard. It's hard, but guess what? It pays off. Long term, it pays off. You got your legacy, man. Who wants to be known as a jerk to your family? And I've seen it all. I've seen addictions. I've seen obesity. I've seen drugs. I've seen alcohol. And these are owners of family businesses. And their kids were even cloned. And that's why they're not going to be sustainable. Okay? So I'm telling you, God's got your purpose in mind. You have to listen. You have to listen and live it. So I'm passing this on, and I'm very happy with my life. I'm very happy that I took these risks. Very happy of my children, how they developed, because I passed on my family values that I've learned from my parents in business and personally to my kids. And guess what they're doing? They're passing it on to my grandchildren. So I love it. So that's it. I want to leave you with this, and I'm trying to keep my mantra very easy. I work on it very hard. You know, keep your promises. Make sure you pick the right horse. But now I'm trying to simplify it and just say, you know what? Always bring joy. And one of my mentors brought that to me. He says, you know, Rock, the bottom line here in life, besides the freedom and independence, just bring joy to people. And that's what I want to do. So I'll talk to you soon. I got more to come, man. Hey, send your comments. If you need help, just get a hold of me, man. I love talking business. I'm obsessed with business, okay? But that's what keeps me going. I'll talk to you soon.